All right. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome back to another fine edition of Nothing But the Truth with
Brother Jamil.
and Sister Tisha. And we are grateful to have you with us tonight, everybody. We're going to jump right in, as is our want, but we're going to make sure that we do these things that we all ought to do at the top of the program. I'm going to turn you into the hands of the world's most beautiful host in just a moment. But before we do, we want to welcome you on this August 22nd of 2024, as the year seems to be flying by. But August 22nd of 2024, lots happening in the news, a lot's going on in the newspaper if you still read the paper, on television if you still watch it, or streaming online as most of you do. There's a lot of information, but tonight's information is essential to you. And we're going to talk about that tonight. So gather around, get your pencils, your pads. There's going to be much information. The world's most beautiful host is going to welcome some of our folks coming into the chat room, and she's got some housekeeping for all of you. Tisha, go right
Hey,
ahead.
everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Nothing But the Truth with Brother Jamil and Sister Tisha. We are so glad you came back to share this time with us. I want to say hi to my sister. She's here front and center. Hey, Kia, we're glad to have you. At this time, everybody, we ask that you help us grow this platform. You know what that is. We want you to mosey on over to our YouTube page, Nothing But the Truth with Brother Jamil and Sister Tisha. Go ahead and like, share, and subscribe. And then go right over to Facebook to Tisha Muhammad and do the same. Like, share, and subscribe. Share this with a friend. Tell them to come on in. We've got so much to share this evening. You don't want to miss it. Huh? You ready?
I think we're ready. I think we're ready to go. I think we're ready to go. We see Sister Willetta is back in the chat. Walaikum salam to you, my dear sister, and to all of you who are gathering and joining us by means of Facebook and by YouTube and these destinations where we're going. Listen, where we're really going is to the moon, to the moon, way up in the stars. And so the aim of this community is to make the messages of healing and improvement and benefit available to millions of people around the globe. But the journey of 1,000 miles starts with what? The first step. So we encourage you to go in after you like and share. We're going to ask that you subscribe to the program. When folks come into the chat room, we're going to ask that the chat drivers, people like Sister Willetta and Sister Nakia and Sister Patricia. Hey, Trish, there she is. Trisha's in here with us. But we're going to ask that you tell other folks during the conversation, be sure and subscribe because it's time to make it happen. Now,
Right.
tonight's guest is no stranger to the program. He's a member of the Nothing But the Truth family, and not just any member. He's a well-rounded, wise, knowledgeable, experienced expert
Right.
at what he does. You may have seen the heading tonight. Are you just making ends meet? Are you doing all right? Or are you just barely making ends meet? Sometimes you can bring the ends into the same party. They look at each other across the dance floor and
Right.
refuse to meet.
Spirit fingers, but
Refuse.
they ain't trying to meet.
They're not trying to meet. No, they don't want to meet. So we need a strategy afoot and at play to help us keep these things going. Kimberly says, Walaikum salam, and just making ends meet. We see you out west, sister, and we're going to do all the things that we can to make sure we spread the gospel, the good news, the good information that this brother brings to the program. He's no stranger, as I said before. Yes, he's a native New Yorker, but today he makes his home in the Bay Area, there in Oakland, California, where as an active member of the FOI, he has contributed to the literal saving of many lives there in Oakland and around the country. But he's also a financial lifesaver. He is a planner, he is a doer, he's a thinker, and I hope that you guys will understand how great he is when he comes forward. Let's bring forth our brother, our friend, Brother William Muhammad. Brother William, come on, bruh. There he is. All right. All right. Looking good and relaxed.
Assalamu alaikum.
And
Walaikum
walaikum
salam.
salam. Look at him. He's in the California. You see him, teacher. He's in the California sunshine. He
I love it.
I am.
got his California golf shirt on, looking good, brother.
That's
Listen,
right.
We bring you back tonight, but at a time of great controversy, great information bounding back and forth. Two things are happening
Sure.
at once this weekend that I thought might be of importance. I didn't want to celebrate that
Celebrate.
quickly, but
Sorry. Thank iPhone.
celebrating. Yeah, I got to watch how you hold your fingers up. But I'll tell you, two things are going on. Number one, Invest Fest is happening in Atlanta this weekend as thousands of Black business persons, entrepreneurs, savers, investors come together to try to find ways to build income and wealth for themselves. Nothing wrong with that. May
Right.
they be blessed with success as long as they keep it principled, right? Right now,
Sure.
also happening, Brother William, is the Democratic National Convention when
Yes,
policies
sir.
are being bandied about and you hear things saying that if their candidate wins, there'll be 3 million new housing units. If
Mm,
their candidate
Oh,
wins, there will be new investments to support first time home buyers with down payment
okay.
assistance. If their candidate wins, there will be lower
Wow.
interest rates and greater stability. So there's a whole lot of financial information just all over the place. Every time we turn on
Okay.
television, we see the stock market falling on one day, then
Sure.
rebuilding the next day. What in the heck is going on? What's the climate like? If you just, I mean, and we're going to ask these questions, but what is the climate like
Sure.
financially right now?
Well, one, thank you so much for having me again. I love to see you all family and discuss the things that we discuss. But I find that kind of, I chuckled a little bit when you said these candidates are saying, oh, if you vote for me, we're going to build 3 million homes.
mm,
Well, where are you going to build these 3 million homes? Certainly, it won't be in the state of California where you can't even get homeowners insurance right now.
Oh, wow.
Mm,
You can't. It's almost impossible. You can get the FAIR plan, which will cover maybe 40% if there's a wildfire, and then your premiums are going to go
Mm,
from 1,200 to about 5,000 a year, which means that you're not going to qualify for a home because your debt to income ratio is off. So
right.
these are things that are fluff, right? It sounds
Mm,
good and it sounds nice, but when we look at the reality of these things, you know, I'm not really as interested in the national elections
mm-hmm.
uh, as I am with the local, right? Because those things that happen locally will affect me directly, right?
Okay.
I do listen to these things, but they kind of go in one ear and in one ear and out the other, just like every other president that we've had for the last 40, 50 years. We hear these campaign promises, but at the end of the day, we have to remember that we need to do something for ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to waiting on someone to be benevolent enough to allow us to do these things.
mm,
I'd rather just
mm.
get up and, like James Brown said, let me open the door and get something for myself, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I would rather do that.
Yes, sir. Well, there's a lot. Tish, did you want to have a question? Because there are a lot of things on my mind, but I don't want to be rude ahead of you. If there's anything that you had on your mind.
So if you could help us with, so I'm listening to what you're saying, like I always do. Okay. But with this housing market right now, if what I'm finding, which is crazy with the market right now, even just renting, if you want to just rent, right, something before you can even qualify to rent, you have to make 3 times what the rent is, right? And
That's an average. That's on
most people
average.
don't do that. Most people can't even do that. So we're having a hard time even just renting, let alone trying to qualify or buy a house in this
Uh-huh.
in these days.
Right.
What roads, how do we navigate this? How do we move from becoming renters? Maybe I'm jumping out there a little too much, but I want to know, how do we move from the renting market to getting into a home? Because it seems like with just renting, we're just spinning our wheels, right?
You're spinning your
And we're
wheels.
not needing.
Yeah. Right. So, Brother Jamil said something about interest rates. They're
Okay.
going down or whatnot. Okay. But I remember when I first started in the mortgage industry, maybe 17, 18 years ago, a
Okay.
really good interest rate was 8.5%.
Mm,
Mm,
The interest rates is not what saves you money. I mean, well, it does to a degree, but 30 years is 30 years. It doesn't matter how you slice that pie up. It's 30 years, right?
okay.
So there's something that you need to do to kind of prepare yourself for that. The first thing is is to set yourself a budget.
Mhm.
And you may be on a lean camel for maybe 3 years, 2 or 3 years. And,
Okay.
you really should. I use something that's called the 60/20/20 rule, where 60% of whatever it is that I make goes into my living expenses, which means my rent, my utilities, grocery. If there's a car note, I'm lucky enough not to have ever had a car note, but I don't have
Mhm.
a car note or health insurance, the things that you need to survive. So if you are a wage earner that makes 60 grand a year,
Okay.
which, most people coming out of school, young people they're making about 60 grand,
Mhm.
you know, it's going to be a little hard to live on that in California, but in most
Uh-huh.
places you can have a fairly decent lifestyle.
Okay.
36,000 of that immediately coming off the just before you do anything. 36,000, and that's 60,000 after taxes.
Okay.
After that, okay, that 60 grand, 36,000 of that is going to go just to your living expenses, and it should go to take your rent. Find out what your utilities are, would be in this area, and that's what you can truly afford.
Okay.
Now, the next 20%, that should go towards your 3 to 6 months of savings, right?
Mm.
Because if something were to happen to you, you have a surgery, you're off of work, or a family member is sick, or you lose your employment, or something happens, a major thing happens, you should be able to have saved enough money to continue to live without missing a beat. This will give you an opportunity to really to kind of get your footing up underneath yourself again and get back into your workforce, whether you're in business for yourself or you're a wage earner. So that will leave about $12,000 for your savings, for your investments, emergency funds, things like that. That makes sense. So, but you got to start somewhere,
Mhm.
and that you may not be able to see that on a large scale like that. Because I'm speaking about annual, right? The first thing that I do when I get paid, I don't care if it's $5.
Okay.
My money is it's not to the rent man. It's not to PG&E, which is the electrical and gas company here. It's
Mhm.
not to, it's not to any of those things. I'll take the whatever that number is. I put it into my pocket. I pay myself.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Before anybody else gets a penny. That's the very
Mhm.
first person that you should be paying, right? And then after that, and it should be something reasonable. Don't
Mhm.
be homeless because you want to pay yourself $5. Pay yourself $2, right? Whatever that number is, right? And put that
Yes,
away.
sir.
But don't touch
So
it, right? That's the money
but
we don't
don't touch that money.
pay.
That's the money you don't touch. You have to forget that it exists. And I know that's hard to do, but if you want to be a homeowner, you
Mhm.
have to do something that's called sacrificing.
Mhm.
Wow.
Sacrificing
Wow.
is not easy,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
It's easy. Some months, $20 means absolutely nothing to you. And
Mhm.
then some weeks, $20 means I'm going to eat this week or I'm going to get to work this week,
Ah.
right? Right. And we've all had those moments in our lives, whether we were younger people or older people, it doesn't really matter. Life happens.
Mhm.
Right.
And when it does, we should have some kind of plan put into place to mitigate the things that could harm us. That make sense?
It does.
Yes, sir.
You, you know what too, and I think we have to look at what sacrificing is or how you sacrifice. Look outside of the box because in other cultures, other than
People that look like us.
people pool their resources by moving in together sometimes. You have
Absolutely.
several families in one home or several family members like siblings or what have you in one home so that everybody can stack their money and then branch off. And there's nothing
Mhm.
wrong with that. That's actually smart in this economy right now.
Super smart.
Because
Super
Yeah.
smart.
why would each of you pay 2,000 to live in your own one bedroom apartment when you can split 3,000 in a home, right? And then
Mhm.
save
Absolutely.
the rest and build up some other kind of way. We just have to figure out how to think outside the box so we can get ahead in
Absolutely.
this economy and make our, our ends meet, our fingers twitch a little bit better. I don't know, because that 3 times the rent, that blew my mind. Who does that? If I could afford 3 times rent in an apartment, I could just go get a house. Seems like,
Absolutely.
and it's not.
Mhm.
Absolutely. You know, that's really, Sister Tisha, that's a mindset,
It
right?
is mindset.
We have been conditioned for so long to be about the team of me.
Uh-huh.
I'm about unity in whatever stretch of the imagination that that you can have with that. My
Mhm.
son, 18 years old, little Ahmad, right? You all have seen him grow up in the nation. It's
Yes,
my
sir.
guy, right? Ahmad is
Mhm.
now 18. He'll be 19th on the 3rd of September.
Mm-hmm.
Ahmad has not paid a bill ever, in
Mhm.
it, ever,
Hmm.
right? And guess where he works?
Where?
He works with me every
Yes.
day, Monday
Yes.
through Friday,
Oh, wow.
right?
Mhm.
Guess where he lives?
With you.
He
With
lives
you.
with me, right? And I have
Mhm.
no intentions of allowing him to step out there, on his own until he's truly ready. So
Okay.
his money goes to this big pot that's
Mhm.
specifically designed for him to be able to step out with the confidence that he needs to be successful in life. We have to stop pushing your children out because they're 18 years old.
Right.
You
Mm.
know,
Yes.
Number one,
Yes.
stop that. They're not ready. They're still children. You know what you were doing at 18, and you
Mm-hmm.
were not handling business. You were going from pillar to post. You were getting
Mhm.
evictions left and right. If you had a car, it was a clunker. You was trying to work in the mission. If you're in the nation, was like, we trying to, I'm a top soldier. Blah, blah. Okay, got it, right? But
Mhm.
I wasn't ready at 18. I was on my own at 16, and I was not ready then. And I wasn't ready until I was well into my 20s. That's when I kind of started figuring it out, right?
Okay.
So don't push them out. And then we have to remember that we have older people in our family as well.
Yes.
It costs a lot of money to put somebody in a home,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
not going to get the kind of love and attention that they deserve.
Mm-hmm.
They have
Mhm.
spent their life working to put you in a better position and to make life a little bit easier for you. And so now it's a good time for us to allow the unity of our families to work together to build. I do have clients
Mm-hmm.
in that they may have 15 cars, they may have 10 cars, but it's
Wow.
11 and 12 people living in this one home.
Mm.
Mm.
And so the underwriter says, well, wait a minute, this can't be, this is not something that's normal.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, I need you to go over and take pictures. And you go out there and you see these cars lined up and you see
Mm-hmm.
this one big house. And you come inside and everybody has their little individual area,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
whether it's a bedroom or they've made this into an area. But you have to have a certain type of love for yourself and for your family and for those who are like minded.
Wow.
It definitely needs to be a conversation first,
Right.
because you are going to need times where you have to have some privacy.
Of
But you gotta love what it is that you're, and know that you have a goal that you're
right.
trying to get to.
That's it. It's a sacrifice. And so what we
It's a
Yes.
consider
sacrifice.
as normal doesn't look the same anymore in this economy.
Exactly.
No,
Basically is what you're
right,
saying. And this is part pooling your resources and living 11 in that one house that may be extreme for some, but maybe 6 in one house. That's the sacrifice he's
absolutely,
telling us you might have to make for the first 3 years so that you can stack your money and then move out
that's
and get
right,
your own house.
I,
It's just
I'm.
like a
I'm.
laundry
absolutely,
because some of us don't have a nest egg that our parents left us, right? Or
right,
or we're able to just set us up with. So we got to build one.
I'm glad
certainly,
that you mentioned. I'm very glad you mentioned about 11 folks living in one house. I didn't
Mhm.
get a chance to tell you earlier, but cousin Pookie and them called today, and they're gonna need to be with us
Mm-mm.
here
okay.
for
Mm.
about the next 8 9 months.
Yeah. I was just
And
high
I
siding for the show. I was just high siding for the show. I didn't mean us. I was just, yeah. Okay.
all right, very well. Then back to you, brother William. But but Pookie and them, they gonna call you right after the show tonight, Tish, and they'll explain to you what's going on. Something about
If y'all
yeah.
if you need an air mattress or two, I got a couple I can
Okay.
Okay,
ship
there
out
you
that
go.
way.
All right.
We can get a
We
camper
got
in the back.
yes, sir. So, Brother William. Now, next question
Yes,
based on this, we've established that sacrifice is necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
right.
to move to these next levels. Get it? See, I said next level when I
Yes.
said about sacrifice.
Sure.
I'm like next
We
level.
moving to the next level. But as we move there,
Uh-huh.
we've got to be able to identify. Now, let me recap. 60-20-20 rule.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yes.
gross 60, you net 60,000 a year.
Okay.
Out of that, 36,000 is your living expenses.
Right.
12,000 is your savings, right? And the other
Right.
12,000 is what?
Really, just like investments, emergency funds, things like that.
Emergency funds.
Your
Okay.
working capital.
So now the question was raised earlier, and I think it bears repeating here, and that's from Brother
Hey.
David C. Muhammad. Is there a difference between paying yourself and saving? And if so, what is that difference?
Well, it can be. It really depends on you, right, and what you're actually bringing in. Now,
Hmm.
paying myself may be I'm going to give myself some money because I want to go to the movies this week, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Or or it could be a part of that 12,000 that's used for emergency funds, something like that, right? I want to be able to move and do some things on my own, enjoy my life, right? I may want
Hmm.
to go on a vacation. I may want to do this, but I don't want my vacation money and the money that I'm using to save to buy a home to commingle. I
Right.
don't
Right.
want that,
Okay.
right?
Right.
Because you will look at that home money and be like, "Hey, well, babe, we can get a little, we
Yeah.
can go on this other excursion. We can go to, we can go swim with the sea turtles if we want to this week. No, no, let's slow down. We can go to this beach,
Mm-hmm.
put
Hmm.
on that what's it called, the burkini,
Mm-hmm.
put your swim stuff on, and we gonna have a picnic. Had the spaghetti. I
Yes,
don't know
sir.
what y'all
Yes,
take to
sir.
the beach, but we take spaghetti to the beach, and that's we're gonna enjoy ourselves.
Did
Hey,
you
what?
just say you take
What
spaghetti to the beach?
Just spaghetti to the beach. You
you
don't take spaghetti to the beach?
never had spaghetti at the beach? The sand don't get everywhere.
You're
No,
you're
it's a
you're
Puerto Rican thing.
watching
I think.
I
you're
want to
watching
experience
nothing.
spaghetti at the beach.
You're
It's good.
watching
You put
nothing
it
but
in
the
the thing.
truth with brother. You're watching nothing but the truth with brother Jamil and sister Tisha. Our guest tonight is brother William, who takes spaghetti to the
I
beach.
swear I've never heard
It's
Okay,
a Puerto Rican thing.
um,
It's a Puerto
and
Rican
we
thing,
have
I think.
Ah, mira.
it's and
Wepa!
okay, and in Atlanta, the Rockwell Radio Show wants to know
Mm.
who takes spaghetti to the beach, and
Never
that
heard of
probably will
spaghetti at the
be
beach.
that will probably be the conversation tonight. Kia doesn't believe it either, and so you're,
Ask,
it's
ask the
okay. But
question.
he's not here. He's not here tonight as a menu consultant. No, no, no.
I'm
He's
sorry.
here tonight to help us understand how to build a better future and keep our
Sure.
ends not only keep our ends meeting, but keeping that meeting productive. We
Yes.
want to
Sure.
produce something with our ends. Brother William, next question. Once
Mhm.
we start on this plan, this 60-20-20
Yes.
breakdown,
Mhm.
we're on it for 3 years. We've started to build. What are we doing now on the next level? What are we doing? What do we do next? Now we've
Okay.
got some kind of next
So,
egg built.
uh, all right. So you need three things to purchase a home.
Okay.
Three. Okay. You need ability, stability, willingness to pay.
Mm.
Everybody write
Ability,
that down. Ability,
stability.
Ability.
stability, willingness to pay, right? Ability. Can you do this?
Mm.
Do you have the income to sustain that? Now, if you are in business for self, that means that you cannot write everything off in your taxes. Brother John, a couple of weeks ago, did talk about that because they're looking for money that you actually are earning and not things that you're writing off. The things that you're writing off cannot be included in your income.
Mm.
Okay, because you're telling Uncle Sam you didn't make this, you truly didn't make this amount of money because you're trying to save your money in taxes,
Okay.
Hmm.
right? You don't
Hmm.
want to pay him more than what you have to. So for 3 years, you have to stop that because they're going to take the last 2 years of your tax return
Mm.
and calculate what your true income is from that point, right? So can you do this? Yes, I can.
Mm-hmm.
I got some money, right? Stability. They want to track where have you lived and where have you worked for the last 2 years. Now, you don't have to have the same employer for the last 2 years, but you
Okay.
should be in the same line of work and it should be consistent for 2 years. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
right across the
Mm-hmm.
board. And if you have been off, it should not be a long time off.
Okay.
Maybe 30 days, and then you will need to write a letter and go ahead and get it together.
Mm.
A letter of explanation explaining why you were off for this amount of time and why it is not a normal thing,
Mm.
why it was a one-off. Okay, so ability, right? Can you do it? Stability. Where have you been? Where have you been working? I've lived at this place for the last 2 years. I've lived at this place for the last 3 years. A bank wants to, for you to be bankable, you
Mm.
have to show 2 years residence history and 2 years income history. Okay.
Okay.
Now, willingness to pay. That's specifically dealing with your credit report and your
Mm-hmm.
credit scores. It's not good enough just to have a 620, a 640 credit score, right? You can buy a house with those things. With a
Okay.
620 or 640, you can, right? But then they're going to be looking at your collections. They're going to be looking at how long have you had these things, okay? Or if you have any credit reporting bill, right? They're going to be looking at your payment history on it. So you may have a 640 credit score, but if you're running 30 days behind consistently, they're going to want to see that caught up and cleaned up before they
Mm-hmm.
lend you a large amount of money.
Yes,
Right?
sir.
So
Yes, sir.
those are the basic things. So before you start looking at homes and saying, I want this and I want that. See, for some people, when they're looking at homes, oh, this is a place to raise my family. This is this. And oh, I can put a garden back here. Well, from a
Mm-hmm.
financial standpoint, I don't care about any of those things. This is a long-term investment,
Oh,
and
wow.
that
Right.
you have to be very clear on what it is. Yes, you can
Mm-hmm.
do all of those things, but ultimately, this is a long-term investment. Am I going to reap the benefits of being a homeowner other than saying, hey, I own this home and I pay the mortgage on this and I pay the property taxes and the homeowner's insurance on it,
Mm.
and I don't have to move tomorrow because somebody else wants me out.
Mm.
No. You're using this to build, some kind of generational wealth. Hopefully, we have a way to do that with
Mm-hmm.
your home ownership, but we have to start looking realistically. And one of the things that I would urge my clients to do is to get all of the things together that you would need to purchase a home before you start looking.
Oh, wow.
And then
Mm-hmm.
don't get pre-qualified. Get a full underwriting approval so that all you have to do is find the home, get the title work in, get the appraisal done, and now you're done. You're a homeowner. The process will go so much smoother and it will make your life a lot less stressful.
When
Yes,
we
Right.
ma'am.
when we come back from the bottom of the hour, can you explain a little bit more on the steps or what we need to do to get approved before we even go look? So
Yes, ma'am.
yeah, I'm very interested in that. Get
Absolutely.
approved, and then so when by getting approved, they'll tell us what we qualify for.
Yes, ma'am.
That what
Mm-hmm.
Down to the
And not
penny.
only what we qualify for, but what we're actually approved for. Is that right? So a
Absolutely. What
full
you actually are
underwriting
approved.
approval.
all
A
right.
full underwriting
Absolutely.
approval. Okay.
So
Yes.
Okay.
looking at $500,000 houses, and they'd be like, "Ma'am, 125, ma'am, scaling back."
Right. Come
Okay.
on, come on back.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Yes,
wow.
ma'am.
Oh wow.
Okay, got it. All right, so we're gonna get
Mm-hmm.
into that once we return back after the bottom of the hour. Don't go anywhere. Well, yeah, go ahead. Go over to our YouTube page, like, share, and subscribe if you haven't done
That's
so.
what you do.
Tell a friend, and then come on back.
Absolutely.
We'll be right back. Assalamualaikum, family.
Assalamu alaikum.
What are we saying? What are we doing? Woo! Assalamualaikum, family. Assalamualaikum, family.
Assalamu alaikum.
We want to thank you for taking the time to tune into Nothing But the Truth with Brother Jamil
And Sister Tisha. We thank you for every Thursday night joining us for appointment viewing. 8 p.m. Not 8 a.m.
Yeah, I'm going to come in on the PM.
Yeah, 8 p.m. Thursday nights by YouTube, by Facebook, by Instagram, by all the other means by which we can be seen. But we thank you because without you, as a matter of fact, here the Manhattans, there's no me without you.
Always do that. Assalamualaikum.
There's no me.
You didn't say assalamualaikum. You didn't say assalamualaikum.
Oh, assalamualaikum. Without you, baby, 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 baby.
Brother William.
He got the steps. You can see.
Oh, we back? I'm sorry.
Hilarious.
You see, I like a man with taste. That man's got taste, okay? We are. Sean, I knew. Okay, never mind. We are back. We're back, and Nothing But the Truth with Brother Jamil and Sister Tisha. Tonight's guest, not really a guest, but the information is flying tonight. You may want to get a pen and pad. If you just came in the room, you are watching Nothing But the Truth with Brother Jamil and Sister Tisha.
Right.
And tonight's guest is Brother William Muhammad. We have another guest coming on a few minutes from now. He's making his way to the studio, we understand, and soon he'll be with this roundtable discussion about the future for you. How do you make things go better? The economy has been tight, and I must ask this question, sir. Is there a different investment plan that you do when Democrats are in office and another one when Republicans are in office, or is there one plan that you do when you're in the city and another one you do in the country? Or what about all of that? Is there a better way to do it based on situations, or is there just the one proper way?
Well, I've never invested solely based on a political party in office.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I really just don't. I believe in investing in things I can touch, tangible things.
Okay.
And really, those are things that I can do for myself. When you're dealing with investments, a lot of times you need to have some really, it's money that you can, I hate to say that you can afford to lose, because an investment does not mean that you're just going to make money. You may very well lose it, right?
Mm.
So if it's something that I can touch, right, it's tangible. There's three things that will always make money, right? And that is food. People love to eat. They have to eat to survive. Clothing, you need to put something on your body, right? And shelter, you have to have a place to live. So anything that I would invest in personally would have to have something to do with one of those things. The first person I'm going to invest in is invest in myself, right?
Come on.
Start there. Start there. There's something that everybody on this platform can do better than everybody else that they know, and start there, right? I like to cook, so I will make fish sandwiches, right? And I'll sell them in the Bay Area. Yeah, I'll work out with a fairly decent, income, but I was always taught to steal away and do a little something for yourself. That way you can't fire yourself, right?
Right.
So take that money and put it away, right? Because I just don't. I'm sure that there are people who have different strategies, and but I don't want to just give my money away to somebody who I'm never going to see, and I've never seen them make money either, right? There was a time where everybody was all about, this particular legal type of service, but I never saw anyone actually show me a check where they made money. And they always had the free business cards. And they never said, hey, I want you I want to talk to you about this particular investment. It was always something kind of, hey, I want to have a business meeting. Well, business is very vast and very broad, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
So I don't want to just get into these fly by night things, right? I'm not into that. And it may sound good, but ultimately, invest in yourself, invest in the things that you know, invest in the things that you use every single day. If you use soap, learn how to make some soap and then sell the soap, right? People need
Yes,
to
sir.
take a shower every day. Well, hopefully they do, right?
Mm.
Mhm.
If you,
Mhm.
my son is an artist, and so what he does is takes his little money and he
Mhm.
goes and he buys painting supplies and canvases, and that's what he does in his spare time. And if somebody buys it, hey, great. If they don't, at least my place has plenty of my son's artwork in it, and I'm very
Right,
happy
right,
about that. Right,
right.
right. And I give him a little something for it. So invest in yourself. Whether it's the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. I don't think it's that type of party, and I wasn't invited to it in the first place. So
Right, right, right.
A party ain't a party till it's ran all through. Y'all remember that song?
I do.
A crew
I,
don't play a
I
crew.
don't.
Anyway, don't worry about those.
Okay.
Brother William, before we went to break,
Yes, ma'am.
you would explain to us what we need to do to get ourselves approved before we go look for the house. Because we're on
Okay. So
our money right, and now we're ready to go start looking for a house.
right. So you can, people are so, well, I'm looking for the best rate. I'm looking for the best rate. I'm looking, people say that because they think that's what you're supposed to say, but that's not really how you look
Mhm.
for it. That's not what I would suggest. Realtors are very important people, but I'm not necessarily looking for advice on how to sell a physical property or how to buy the physical property. I need to deal with the financials first, right? Before I
Mhm.
even start talking with them. So what I have found is look for a certain credit unions. Credit unions, they don't just operate by an algorithm. There's
Mhm.
usually an
Okay.
actual person that sits down and reviews a file, and if it makes sense,
Mhm.
then they're more apt to say, okay, we are willing to do this amount, right? So
Okay.
I would start at a credit union, and then when you call in, say, look, I'm interested in purchasing a home,
Okay.
but I don't want to just know what I can do. I want to actually have my file completely underwritten without the property. The bank or a credit union cares nothing about your house.
Mm.
All they want to know is it structurally sound, and are we going to make our money back? They don't care anything. They don't want to foreclose on your house. They want to make their money back.
Right,
Mhm.
right, right,
Right.
right.
So what they will do is they'll gather those documents. They'll give you a list of documents, and I can tell you what those documents are right now. It's real simple, and every financial institution needs them. Right? You need 30 days worth of paycheck stubs.
Okay.
You need at least 30 to 60 days of bank statements and the complete bank statements.
Mm.
So even if it, on your bank statement it says this page left blank on purpose,
Yes.
right? That page too,
Put it
every page, right?
there. Okay.
Right.
Put that together, right? And get in your W-2s if you are a W-2 employee for the
Mhm.
last 2 years, maybe even three, depending on what time of year it is,
Okay.
right? And then I would have, if you rent, get 12 months payment history on, or 24 months payment history on your rent. Your
Okay.
landlord should be able to get this for you, specifically if you're on time. Now, you're not late with a bank or a credit reporting agency until you are 30 days late. So even
Mhm.
if you have run behind in your rent, a few days, that doesn't mean very much to a bank. They understand life happens. You may be running
Mhm.
behind this week. A pay week may be off or something. So they don't really care about that. But you want to put those things
Mhm.
together and put them all in a file and make sure it's nice and neat. Don't
Mhm.
have your pages out of order because that just drives people insane and they move your stack to to somebody who's got a cleaner
Oh,
file. You want to
wow.
make sure it's nice and clean,
Wow.
right?
Wow.
So you send that in, they can scan it. You can scan it and, into a PDF, or you can fax it to them if they still have a fax. I don't even know if they still have
Right.
that or
Right.
not, or you
Hmm.
can sit down and meet with your loan officer at that time and say, hey, this is what I have. They'll review it, scan it, they'll go through, and then they'll submit it to an underwriter. And in that underwriting, they will say, okay, you will need A, B, and C, right? And those are called stipulations, right?
Hmm.
So you'll get the stipulations of the loan. You need to have a purchase contract. Okay. Well, when we find a
Hmm.
house and we make a bid and it gets accepted, you'll get that. We're going to need an appraisal. Well, when we get the house and appraisal and all, get all those things. But it also may say we need a letter of explanation for why this happened in June of 2023. We may need to develop your income a little bit better. Okay, it says here that you make this, but your paychecks don't really match. What happened here? What did you get a bonus? Do you work overtime? I
Hmm.
do work overtime, right?
Hmm.
Well, how often do you work overtime? I work overtime every day. Well, how long do you think it's going to last? Well, I've worked overtime just about every pay period for the last 2 years. You can use that income,
Okay.
right?
Mm.
If you receive child support, you can add child support into your income. If you receive spousal support, you can, from a former spouse, you can use that as income as long as it's going to last for the next 2 to 3 years. And every bank is a
Okay.
little bit, or every credit union is a little bit different, but you can use those things. However, the reverse is not true. If you are paying a child support order,
Okay.
right, but it's not being garnished through a check, you don't have to let them know about that. That's not necessary because you're still going to that's a part of what your monthly expenses are anyway. So
Oh,
All
they
right.
don't necessarily look at that back, right?
All right. Now
So
we
once
got
those
great
things are
questions.
done, I'm sorry, go
Mhm.
ahead.
question.
No, I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
There's more. No, go ahead. There's more.
Okay.
Wrap up, brother, because the
That's a little
questions
bit
are
more.
pouring in.
So once you have that in place, they will issue out something that's called a pre-approval letter.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
take that pre-approval letter and it will give you a number. Now, just because they say you qualify for a $500,000 house or a $400,000 house, remember you still have to pay for that. So
Right.
you don't want to max out what it is that you're doing because
Hmm.
eventually you want to go somewhere or do something. You want to pay for gas in
Hmm.
your vehicle. You want to continue on to save some money. So, come under. Try to do your best to come under
Right.
whatever that maximum, because they're going to go all the way to the max. This is the most you can do.
Okay.
Right.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
come in
sir.
a little bit under that, and that's where you can truly afford.
Right. You don't want to be
Right.
house poor. I'm in the
Right.
house.
You
I
don't
can
want to be
afford
hot.
all of it, but I can't buy furniture.
That's
Come
Mm.
over
right.
and sit on the floor. It's comfy. Yeah. No, we
No,
don't want to do
no,
that.
we don't want that. We don't want that.
There's some
Great
questions.
questions tonight. Yeah. Tisha, can you pull the questions up that are appropriate for this one? Let's start in the order because Brother William, you set off some question fires tonight. We can
Good.
start with what I see here. Here's one. Sister Deanna asks,
Hmm.
Brother, what about exploring multifamily housing?
Oh, that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Uh,
Hmm.
Anything from 1 to 3 family units
Okay.
is um, is still considered residential. Four
Hmm.
and anything above four is, it may be changed now. I think it may be 5 now, but anything over that is considered commercial, which is a completely different set of underwriting tools.
Oh
So
wow.
let's start with where we are, right?
Okay.
If you decide, hey, I want to buy a duplex as opposed to a single family residence,
Hmm.
you can
Hmm.
use the proposed income, which would be an average of the area for that duplex. If you live in one side, you can still rent out the other, and that could be included into your potential approval letter. But absolutely, I would absolutely, if you are in a position where you feel that may be the right move for you and your family, like, hey, I don't want this big house. It's just me, or it's just me and my wife. We don't have any children yet. This is my second property is my first property, and I want to start making some money. Absolutely. And then
Mm-hmm.
look at ways to pay your mortgage off earlier. There's three different ways to calculate interest on a mortgage.
Okay.
Okay. Because we said at the top of the hour, it's 30 years, it's 30 years. It doesn't matter how you slice it up. Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you have your contract rate, is what it says on that piece of paper. That may be 6%, 5%, whatever interest rate is that you qualify for, right? Then you have your annual percentage rates or your APR, and
Mhm.
that's your interest rate expressed as all of the things that are associated with your loan, all of the finances associated with, expressed as a yearly number. That number is going to be a little bit higher than your contract rate. Then you have something that's called an effective rate, and that interest rate is not written down anywhere. It doesn't exist unless you do one thing,
What?
and it's not just make an extra payment a year. You
Mhm.
take your
Mhm.
payment. Let's say it's $1,000.
Mhm.
You,
Mhm.
you pay ahead a month. Just get ahead a month, right? And then start paying $500 every other week.
Uh-huh.
What happens is interest is accumulated on a mortgage every 30 days on a daily basis. So, and a bank can only charge you interest on what exists at that particular time.
Nice.
So if I start with $100,000 and I
Mhm.
make a payment, I don't owe $100,000. I may owe $99,700.
Okay.
Well, the bank is going to charge me interest on that 99,700. So
Yes.
every time you make a payment, more often you make a payment, more money goes to your principal, less money goes to interest, and you
Yes.
will take a 30-year note and it will pay off in 24 years.
Come on.
So,
Mm-hmm.
6 years worth of a payment, right? Because this is all about dollars and cents, right? So let's
Yes,
say
sir.
your payment is $1,500, right?
Mhm.
There, your principal and interest. And Brother John talked about what principal and interest was, a
Mm-hmm.
while ago,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yes, sir.
15. Do you have a calculator there, Sister Tisha? I want you to do the math. Does somebody have a
Okay.
calculator? All right.
Let me see. Let me
Because
see if
I
you want
can
me to
do
do
it
the
for you,
math.
but I
Mhm.
want you to do it.
Okay.
All right. It's going to be real simple. So
Yes, sir.
let's take that 1,500.
Mhm.
Now I want you to multiply that by 12 because there's 12 months in a year.
Mhm.
Okay.
18,000.
Now multiply. Hold on. Now take that number and multiply that by 6.
Yep.
What number do you have?
108,000.
So you saved yourself 108,000 just by paying your mortgage biweekly.
Wow.
So do you want to brag about having? This is what I'm talking about. Rates is not what saves you money in a mortgage. That's what makes a bank money, but
Mhm.
that's not what saves you money,
Mhm.
right? You can
Mm.
manipulate your rate to be whatever you want it to be. Now, does a bank want you to do that? No, not necessarily, because they just lost $108,000.
Right. Right. Right.
Right?
Yep.
Wow.
That's a little trick. So, and
This
all
is
banks
why.
don't allow you to do that, but you can do it. You can do it.
Wait.
Making
Wait.
bi-weekly payments.
Now wait. All banks don't allow you to do that.
They do not. So
How
that's
can
why
you?
it's very important to look at places that are controlled not by an algorithm, but by people.
Nice.
Mm.
So when I say yes, banks, they have, lots of different ways to give you a mortgage, right?
Mhm.
And you should use them if you're not in a credit union. If they don't have if the credit union doesn't have the programs that you need to do what's best for you and your family,
Nice.
you and your
Wow.
family. Because everybody's not going to qualify for it, but if
Okay.
you can, ask the question of your loan officer. Will
Mm-hmm.
they allow me to make principal payments?
Mm-hmm.
And your loan officer will say yes or no. And they're bound. They hold licenses to make sure.
Hmm.
I did give a big one.
You did. That was good.
So
He said it was
absolutely.
big.
So praise be to Allah. Yes.
I had heard about the benefits of biweekly payments before, but I thought it was just basically to pay your mortgage off early. But the big savings, just adding up the numbers, that's an added bonus. I didn't even realize that it was that big of a deal. That is a big one you gave. So that's a blessing. And I
Praise
find
be
that
to
with the
Allah.
biweekly payments is actually easier to budget
It
because
is
you
for
know,
some people.
yeah, for some people, because you know exactly this amount is coming out every 2 weeks, like clockwork.
Right.
Boom. I
Mm-hmm.
don't even have to
Mm-hmm.
think about it. And my
And
mortgage is
guess
paid.
what else happens?
Hmm.
Guess what else happens? you make an extra payment on your home a year,
Yeah.
every year.
Yeah.
So because there's some weeks where you have that extra paycheck in your a couple of times a year,
Right.
that
Yeah.
extra paycheck that you get, when you're a wage earner,
Mm.
so that that will help you. A lot of times that will help us out quite a bit.
Okay.
Wow.
Did you
Wow.
see
And
this one?
so,
Go ahead.
no, I'm just amazed by this, and I think that it's true what DJ Rockwell said from the Rockwell Radio Show. That was a big one.
That
That
was.
was a big one, and I hope everyone got that. When you review this program, as we invite you to do, watch it again.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you get the high points. You can pause it when you go back to watch it again, because this information is not only money saving, it can be life saving. Really, it can take, if it takes you
Absolutely.
24 years to pay your mortgage instead of 30, then that
Oh,
means that you have more time to consider alternate sources of income,
yes.
different usages of your
Absolutely.
time, different usages of your time other than working that remaining 6 years in the way that you used to work it, you know. And so
Absolutely.
there are a number of options that are available. The federal credit union you talk
Mm-hmm.
about, where people make a decision instead of an algorithm, not like a large commercial bank.
Mm-hmm.
There are questions in here. I see Brandy's question about telling people to search the most recent updated or new laws that are put into action in order to have items removed off your credit. All that speaks to qualification, and we get that.
Mm-hmm.
But now, how come federal credit unions are not more prominent in urban communities? What is the nature? Is it difficult to start a federal credit union? Why don't more churches
Well,
and institutions do
it,
that?
it's not that it's more difficult to do that. You have to be able to trust each other. Number one,
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
and you can start one. There are churches that will have a credit union. Unions,
Mm-hmm.
labor unions have their own credit unions. Police force,
For
and
sure.
this is something. Their credit unions um, are cooperatives, right? That means they're
Okay.
member owned. They're owned by the people who make the deposits. That's who
Hmm.
owns a credit union, right? It's not
Okay.
a person, right? So the first thing is you need to figure out what is the purpose of your credit union. Some credit unions only do second mortgages. They only do car loans. They only do,
Hmm.
so you have to find the one that works for you. But let's say
Hmm.
you have a group of people that say, okay, we want to start a credit union. The first thing is get some capital together. Do you have adequate capital? That's the first question, right? Two, who do you want to serve? And what's the purpose and the core value of your credit union, right? So let's say Brother Jamil, myself, Sister Tisha, uh, the Rockwell Radio Show, we all have $100,000. I'm just using a generic number.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now I have
Okay.
$100,000. I can't do very much with $100,000 when it comes to a large thing. Okay.
Hmm.
But if we have $300,000, now we got something we can work with.
Okay.
San Francisco Federal Credit Union started in somebody's home.
Mm.
It started in a house
Mm.
in San Francisco back in the 50s. It is the largest credit union in the state of California now.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Okay. It was some people that got together and said,
Hmm.
look, we're not going to wait on these banks to try to get it. We can do it for ourselves. So
Okay.
you have to have, you got to know who you want to serve, what's your purpose and your core values, adequate capital to get started, to get up and running, and then a team of people to help run it. Those are your initial subscribers, right? So you got to
Hmm.
put your money where your mouth is.
Come on.
And then now that you have that, then you have to research on chartering yourself. How do we
Okay.
charter? Do we want to be self-sufficient, or do we want to come under the NCUA, which is the National Credit Union Association? Which means if
Okay.
I have a deposit in California and I'm in Wisconsin somewhere, I can walk into a credit union and say, hey, I need to withdraw this money, right? So
Mm.
it doesn't have to be San Francisco Federal Credit Union. It could be Wisconsin Dairy Federal Credit Union. If you all belong to that same large conglomerate, they share information with each other. Okay, so
Wow.
you'll be able to move around like that.
Okay.
You want to
Now,
research? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no. I mean, I love it when you get on the roll, brother, because we're learning. We are learning a lot.
I'm
I do have
sorry.
some good news for you. I have some good news for you.
Please say, Brother John Kane.
I got one of your colleagues, friends, and brothers who's in
Please
this
say,
business and does it right. He does it now. We're not
please.
saying where he is. We're not certainly naming his corporation. We wouldn't name yours either, brother. But this is our
Thank
brother.
you.
We call him Brother John. And
Yeah.
Brother John is back with us.
Yes.
Brother John,
Whoop, whoop.
Yes,
there he is.
sir.
There he
Hey,
is.
there he is. Hey,
Assalamualaikum.
wa
There he
alaikum
is. All right,
salam.
all right. It's so good to see you, sir. We have been in a master class, Brother John, with
Yes,
your colleague, brother, and friend, our Brother William, and we are learning a lot.
yes, sir.
Have you heard any of the discussion,
I
Brother John?
have. I have. Yes, sir.
And
Good
do
discussion.
you? I know you want to leapfrog on some other things and bear witness to some things,
Please.
but first, before we start on that, how y'all doing? How's the family? Everybody all right?
Yes, sir. Everybody's good, man.
Good,
Everyone's good.
good, good. Well, when you come to Nothing But the Truth with Brother Jamil and Sister Tisha, we check on you first because you're family. Now,
Yes.
your expertise is always great, but anybody that makes Tisha smile like that is all right
Sorry.
with me.
Like,
It's all right
Sister
with me.
Tisha, I'm down here. I'm in this Texas sun. It's got me real
man.
dark. I've been on that golf course and boy,
All
I'm looking. Yes, yes. It's hot
right.
down here in Texas.
Yeah, for real.
All
I
right.
heard
All right.
100.
Well, let's hear from you, Brother John, about
Mhm.
your take on the great counsel that we've been getting from Brother William. Is there anything that we can add in perspective, different things that bear witness to what Brother William has been teaching us tonight?
Yeah, I think that the plan, we need a plan. I mentioned it last session that we had. We know from the lessons that it says the original man writes his history 25,000 years in advance.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
So
sir.
we have to have a plan in place, and ideas that we want to attain, right? The goals that we want to have. It would be great to have a credit union. We had worked on that a few years ago. But what I would tell you all as well is it really takes, in problem 13, it says we have to learn the alphabet, right? Then we put it all together. We need people who are responsible, because I don't want to
Yes,
go
sir.
into business with anyone who's not responsible about their finances, right?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so once we all get ourselves, or enough of us get ourselves in a position where we can grow into business, it's going to be a beautiful thing, and it will happen, and it can happen, because we need to control our own destiny. What I will tell you from a mortgage perspective,
Mm-hmm.
I find that you all might have, if you follow things in the financial space, Navy Federal Credit Union was sued earlier this year for discrimination.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
And in reality, the reason why it's called Brother William, this is called, what is it called? Not an adverse effect, but it may not be intentional discrimination, but it's discrimination, because the reason is that when you have a credit union, you have to protect your investors,
Okay.
right?
Right.
You have to. If all of us got money, we got $2 or $3 million in our credit union. Are we going to loan a mortgage to someone who has a credit score of 580, maybe hasn't paid a lot of things on time? You're not going to take that risk, because you don't want to lose the money of your investors, which are your members, right? So USAA and which is a big credit union, to be honest with you. Navy Federal is certainly a credit union. Yeah, so they turn it. They sell people on like they help veterans and their family, but at the end of the day, they're just a credit union. And so
Right.
you would be better served, especially if you're a first time home buyer with marginal credit, anything below 660, you don't want to deal with credit unions to buy houses, right? That's my opinion, because they have to protect the members, as we would do when we get our own credit union. And then two, a lot of the credit unions don't necessarily have some of the housing programs. Every city in the United States, and every state has some kind of down payment assistance program.
Okay.
And so not just because a state or a city has an assistance program doesn't mean that a lender is going to offer that. You understand what I'm saying? So you have to look at your situation to determine what's best for you, and shop around, ask questions, and make sure. That one of the things that really disturbed me is sometimes I look at people and I know they have a tough situation, and like me as a loan officer, I deal a lot with FHA and VA loans, right? That is the way that most people get into homes. But then you might have other loan officers or bank LOs who never really deal with FHA, or maybe they're not certified by their company to do a FHA or VA loan. So you got to know who you're talking to, because you could get turned down because you're just dealing with a bad loan officer. A loan officer doesn't understand your situation.
Wow.
Absolutely.
And so then it appears to me there's a synthesis, I should say, of your understandings, because as Brother William is telling us, that some credit unions are created for just the reason of second mortgages, or just the reasons of car loans. Others may do home loans, but they do them in a responsible way as to protect their investors and make sure they don't put their funds at an unreasonable risk. Is that right, brother?
Right.
So,
am I understanding?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
And there are three levels of lenders. You have banks, you have mortgage companies who are typically correspondent, and then you have brokers, right? So credit unions, especially if you're a small credit union, you don't have the wherewithal to be able to finance billions of dollars. So you broker those deals out. You might be able to intake it through John and Williams Credit Union, but we're going to turn around and just broker that loan out to another company, right? So it's not like we're lending our own money, because when you have warehouse lines, and I'm going a little deeper than maybe I should, but lenders have warehouse lines that they work within, and then you got to sell out of the warehouse lines so that you free up other capital to do other lending. So credit unions don't necessarily have a lot of money to be doing first mortgages, because they're typically higher loan amounts. They're going to broker those out if they do them at all. The second mortgages are typically lower loan amounts and have a different profit level for them. So credit unions will do second mortgages more openly than they'll do first mortgages.
So I have a question then, just to understand. So if I'm buying a house for the first time, my first loan probably would have to be from a bank. If my credit was.
You need to find a lender, like a mortgage company, right? A mortgage company. Well, you need to call me, because that's what I do.
You need to call that brother first.
Call John.
Yeah, no, I'm licensed in most states, so I have a license in over 40 states. But the deal is again, banks have people who don't necessarily have to have a lot of experience. Why? Because if I'm a new loan officer and I work for a bank, all I have to go do is sit down in my bank branch, and the customers come in and I help the customer. Those are those are the bank's customers, not John's customers.
Got it.
Right. And so and then the bank too has it. Like at one point, Chase Bank wouldn't do loans under 7. I think it was like at 1.720 during COVID, and then they raised it.
Yeah, and 720.
Wow.
Yes, and then there's something in the mortgage world called an overlay. What is an overlay? So a lender may elect to say that they won't do loans over 580, which is very, very common. But FHA does allow people at between 500 and 580 to buy a house, but it may require 10% down. It does require 10% down. Now that's up to the
Right.
lender. The lender may say 520 is too low for us. We don't trust a buyer at 520. That's their prerogative. So lenders and banks have overlays. They're going to say, we don't want to see your debt ratio above 40%, right?
Mhm.
Whereas a regular mortgage company will allow your debt ratio to be as high as 56% of your gross monthly income. Okay,
Right.
so those are the things that make a difference. That's what I'm saying. You have to do your research about your
Yes.
needs. The
Absolutely.
higher your credit, you have all the options. If you're sitting at a 770 credit score, $200 in monthly debt, or some low number, maybe it's $500, you could go anywhere and get a loan.
Yes.
But if your
Right.
situation is more complicated, you really got to know who you're working with.
Absolutely.
My
Wow.
question, what I'm trying to understand, you guys keep talking about, is it second mortgages you're saying, or second loans? What scenario would I have a second loan? Is that like if I already had a house loan and then for whatever
Yes.
reason I had to go and get another loan for something?
You
Then I
can,
get
so
Right.
you all were talking about equity, right? So if a person,
Mhm.
if I have a home that I own free and clear, let's not say I own free and clear. Let's say I owe $100,000. Y'all were talking about paying that
Mhm.
mortgage down and adding additional payments. So
Mhm.
say that you worked your way to the point that you owe $100,000 on your house, and now that house is worth $500,000 because it's
Right.
appreciated or whatnot. So you have a ton of equity to the tune of probably $300,000 of accessible equity
Mhm.
that you may want to use as a line of credit.
Okay.
Okay. And so with a second
Right.
mortgage, you get most of them it can be fixed or it can be variable. But when you go with the variable, if you have a credit line of 300,000, you have
Mhm.
check writing or debit card privileges, and you're paying interest only for 10 years. Okay. And then if you don't pay it off within 10 years, it's going to go to a fixed loan for the next
Oh,
20. So
wow.
it's a different level
Mhm.
of utilizing the equity, because you might be sitting. See, if you have a 500 credit score
Mhm.
and you're sitting on $300,000 or $400,000 of equity, in your mind, you might be like, "Oh, I should be able to utilize this. I have equity in my home."
Mhm.
Nobody's going to give you a loan, right? They're not going to give you a second mortgage, even though you have this equity in it,
Mm.
right? You
Okay.
still have to be credit worthy. And then the second
That's
reason
right.
why people get home equity lines of credit, personally, I'm sitting at a 2.25 interest rate. I refinanced twice during the pandemic.
Yes.
Mhm.
I'm on a 2.25 rate. I'm not leaving. I'm not refinancing. Like I'm not going to
Right.
cash out
Right.
You
and
stay there.
go
That's right.
with today's rate. So if I need to access equity, I'm going to do a home equity line. I'm going to do a second mortgage at today's rates and try to
Mm.
pay it off, right? Because I don't
Right.
want to lose that 2.25.
Nice.
That's
Okay.
right.
Okay. Yeah,
Ah.
you are watching Nothing But the Truth with Brother Jamil and Sister Tisha. And the reason why we're sitting up in our seats is the same reason why you're sitting up
Yeah.
in yours. Because we're joined tonight by Brother William and Brother John. These are the experts who know. And I'm reminded of something. You started out your commentary tonight, Brother John, with a reminder from the Supreme Wisdom about the mathematics that we practice in our faith, Islam.
Mm.
You don't have to be a Muslim to practice mathematics, but mathematics actually is Islam. And I'm hopeful
That's
that
right.
we understand this, because tonight the questions are so wise,
Yes.
and the people are coming. Now here's one that just popped up on the screen. It says, "Brother, how can we study under you? I would really like to become licensed." That question goes to both of you, because you have different and some of the similar licenses in the financial industry, and then others that
Sure.
diverge from one another. I'll start with you, Brother William, and then I'll come to you, Brother John. But how do people begin to study beyond just the basic knowledge of what to do in their own households? Does that question make sense, brothers?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does. If you're looking to get into the mortgage industry, you need, without a shadow of a doubt, need to talk to Brother John.
Mhm.
By far, he's the best that I know of.
Yes.
And he's been that way for I don't know how long I've known him, but as long as I have known him, right? He's extremely knowledgeable. Now, if it's insurances or something else, I do have a Series 6, a Series 63, a Series 7, and a Series 53, which those are financial licenses along with insurance licenses for the state of California as well. So it really just depends on what it is that you want to get into. And you're welcome to reach out to us. You can reach out to me through Brother Jamil or Sister Tisha, and we'll be able to talk. And I'm sure Brother John has a way to get a hold of him as well.
Excellent,
Yes.
excellent. Thank you, Brother John. Would you add to that?
And that, yes, I think it's a good question, and Brother William hit it on the head. His discipline is different than my discipline, right? At one point, I did have an insurance license, a 6 and a 63, but I strictly focus on mortgages, right? So that is all I do. To get a mortgage license, it's called an NMLS license, and it requires basically like 2 days of classes. I think it's 16 hours. It's been a long time since I've done it, but it's like 16 hours of class. And then there's a national test. And then your state where you live at, like here in Texas, they have a state test that you have to pass as well. So that and then there's a level of, even in Brother Williams' profession, a level of vetting that they go through. So it's, they may look at your credit. Some states require a credit check. They're definitely going to want to know if you're a felon, or you can have some blemishes. You can have blemishes that you don't have to be a pristine person to be able to get some of these licenses. But certainly, if somebody has as long as you don't have a financial crime, you could probably get a license. So you got to get the license. But in some cases, if you go to work for a bank, the deal in the mortgage world is that banks hold a national license that they can put you under their charter. You don't necessarily have to go to get a license. But if you work for a mortgage company, a broker, or an independent, then yes, you have to have an individual license. But I'm easy found, right? I forget what. Y'all know I do. I've been doing comedy too, but I'm not going to go there tonight.
Go ahead. You and Azim together. Go ahead, brother.
But my email address is mortgageman02@gmail. Phone number is 682-219-5503.
And you'll see that on the crawler in just a minute. We'll repeat it, and you'll see it up on the screen. But there is so much more. Tish, I see something on your mind. I see something brewing in your head. Go right ahead with your question, because we're not out of time. We have about 15 more minutes, but I guess of that time, maybe 13 is conversation. So we don't want to over talk.
Right. No, I'm good. I'm just listening to everything, taking everything in, and really thankful for both of you brothers bringing your expertise to our audience. We're learning so much practical information that we can apply right away to make real changes in our lives. And that's what the whole goal of this show is. So I'm thankful for that.
Can we get some hard questions? Anybody like that's listening? Is there any hard I have like really hard questions. Yeah, like
a hard question.
Give us something.
You heard the
I don't know.
You heard the
ask something that that you just, whatever the subject is, let's talk about it.
Well, one thing that just came in my text messages off camera. One brother said, "This is like watching a movie with Schwarzenegger and Stallone." Okay,
I do have a hard. It might not be a hard question, but I would like guidance. So you talked already about homes that have equity in them, because in this housing market, it's flip-flop. We may have a home that has a lot of equity. If we sell it, we'd make money, but then you'd lose so much trying to buy a new house. What would you think would be the smart thing to do? Stay with what you have, and then
you continually.
Okay, what?
In my opinion, you continually move up. See, there's a thought that people say, especially, believers, I have this conversation. Mm-hmm. We might buy a house in Detroit and pay $5,000 for it, right? Okay. And then we fix it up, rebuild it, remodel it, and now it's worth 100,000, and then you're like, I'm gonna hold on to this home and I'm gonna pass it down to my child.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When your child is an adult or you pass away and you're giving this old house to your child, what do you think is going to be worth? It's not going to be worth what you think. You continue to buy real estate, like sell your house, take all of the equity and put it into the next house. And when you have really good credit, you just refinance it when the time gets better.
Absolutely.
The house that I bought, that I live in, I bought it in 2018. In 2018, the interest rate was 5.875. That was an employee rate. And I started off at a payment higher than my payment is today because I was able to refinance at 2.25.
Right.
So
right.
You continually move. And why do I recommend that? It's because neighborhoods change.
Yes.
Sure do.
Right. And people don't want 100-year-old house. So just because that house may be worth 100,000 today doesn't mean that when your child or you pass away, that your child is going to have a house that's worth much more than that. So why not continue to invest in real estate and then turn around and flip it? And if you really, want to get like Sister Tisha, you're from this area, in Mansfield, when you were growing up, you didn't come down this way. You didn't come across 360.
Sure did.
You know what I'm saying? But now Mansfield is damn near 50% Black.
Yep. So
you have to think about like, all right, where's the next budding area? Where are people moving to? A friend of mine who lives where I live, he bought a house here in 2005 for $150,000. He sold it for $450,000.
Wow.
Man, where y'all finding houses that's that cheap?
People think that's expensive here. Like people think that's expensive here. Oh, absolutely.
I need to move to Texas, man.
Yeah. Go to St. Louis. You're 450,000, you're in a mansion.
No, I'm good. I'm good on St. Louis.
By way of interjection here, just for the uninitiated, what you're watching, folks, is a comparison of cost of living. Yeah. Your brother William is from the Bay Area. Brother John lives in North Texas. There's great lifestyle in North Texas. There's a great way of living in North Texas, just like there is in the Bay Area. But the Bay Area is much more expensive, and the prices are much higher. So the principles work, and you can see them working much more easily and more quickly, perhaps in North Texas. Is that true, Brother John? Is that what you're saying?
Wherever you are, because the situation is going to be similar everywhere you are. Like I have a client who's sitting on a house in Compton that's worth, like she calls it her retirement. She bought it 20 years ago and she's sitting on it until she turns 65, and when she retires, she's going to cash it out. If the house probably is going to be worth $600,000, right, or whatever.
In Compton.
So in Compton, city next to Long Beach. First time home buyers select a new build 4-bedroom with 3 months. Okay, and how he's 3 to 4 months behind. So, Brother David, what happens with new build houses is when a builder buys a lot, the builder pays taxes on land only. So if I bought a lot for $50,000, the county sets my taxes at $50,000 because there's no home on it. I'm just paying the taxes on the land. So then I build a house on it and I sell that home for, say, $500,000. But when the lender touches it, they already know. Here we are in August. Okay. Taxes are due here in December. So the lender says, oh, I have to pay these taxes for this buyer in December. So I'm going to collect on this $500,000 house, which here the taxes on a $500,000 house is $12,000. So the lender would have to collect a whole bunch of money to close it and have enough money to pay it off or pay the taxes in December. So what lenders do is they just go ahead and start your escrow account off on what the builder is paying, the taxes on the 50. And now the buyer is like, oh, I'm living in this house. I got this low payment. And then a year later, the county comes and says,
Bam.
you live in a house that's worth 500 and the taxes should have been blah, blah, blah. And now you're in a upside down situation because the mortgage company comes to you and says, you have to catch up the escrow account and you got to pay us the money we put on the taxes.
Yep.
Wow.
So that is how people get in trouble with new construction. So there's anytime I'll do it that way, but I'm going to tell you, Brother David, I'm only collecting $100 starting off, but bro, you better be setting aside $700 a month in a savings account or a money market and be prepared for the change. Don't get used to the payment. It's coming, right? So that's the problem that people have with new construction.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
So one of
You're
the
listening to
questions,
Brother John and
John,
Brother William on Nothing But the Truth with Brother Jamil and Sister Tisha. Brother William Muhammad is up next. He's got more information. Go ahead, brother.
well, no, I wanted to add to that question. The question he at the end of that question, it was, what do you do when you're 3, 4, 5 months behind? When you're in the situation, the first thing is, right, there it goes. It says now he's 3, 4, 5 months behind on a mortgage. What does he do? Well, the first thing you got to do is figure out how did you get in this position in the first place? And one of the situations is what Brother John spoke about, okay, with these property taxes, or you may have, there's something going on with the mortgage itself. It could be I lost my job. It could be I had an accident. I've been off of work for a while. It could be I have a 580 credit score and I wasn't good at paying my bills in the first place, and now I've taken on a $500,000 investment, and I really wasn't prepared for it. So one of the things that before you get into that problem, before it gets 3, 4, 5 months behind, you need to speak up and ask somebody like a Brother John, how do I get back into this before this gets out of hand? Because if you're 5 months behind, that's almost a half a year that you have not paid a mortgage payment. Where is your money? It's the first question.
Yes.
What did you do with your money? Okay. Now you're chasing after something, and you may never ever get caught up. I don't know. But remember when we started the show, I said you have to have 3 things to buy a house, right? Ability, stability, willingness to pay. And that's right. That's a big part of it, right? You may not be ready for home ownership. Just because you can doesn't mean that you should. I want you to, because it makes Brother John money. It makes me money. But I don't want to see you homeless after 3 or 4 months when I can see. You remember we talked about that 12-month payment history?
Yes,
We talked about putting some money away, and we talked about sacrificing. See, when you do those things, you set yourself up for what's the word? What's the word I'm looking for? I'm so
Failure?
sorry. No, you're not looking for failure. You're looking to set yourself up when you're putting those things into play. You're practicing to become consistent in your sacrifice. You learn a new habit. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yes.
When you're putting your you know that 60% of your income, 60% of whatever that $60,000 a year, you know that's got to go to your living expenses, and you know that you can pay your bills with that, and you're used to it. Now you have a habit of paying your bills on time.
Yes,
You should not be coming to Brother John just because you got a 520 credit score and you see something pretty. You need to talk to Brother John long before you start looking at a house, long before. And then when you're in a situation like that, you need to stop trying to figure it out on your own, because clearly we don't know what we're doing. You need to go with somebody who does know what they're doing, and stop being ashamed and afraid, because you would not be the first person to get behind like that.
Yes.
Once you're 6 months behind, banks are starting to knock on your door.
Oh no, they getting ready to foreclose.
They're getting ready to foreclose.
Yes, and Brother
Yeah.
David, here's what happened. Brother William, man, I want to just
Please.
tell. Here's what happens in your friend's situation. In 2008, we had what they call the housing crash. Okay,
Yes, sir.
and
Yes,
I
sir.
guarantee you, in the city where I'm from, we had so many vacant houses that were foreclosed on, that we had jokers that were just going knocking locks off of houses and putting new locks on and renting those houses out like they were their own houses.
That's true.
Wow.
And people were
That is true.
renting from them. We brother Jamil and I know, one of the brothers that I'm very close with, we call him Uncle Dude.
Yes.
Built a company off of renovating foreclosed properties. But what has happened in today's world is mortgage companies learn from that, and the last thing they want to do is to foreclose on you, right?
Right.
You have to raise your hand, as Brother William said. That person needs to call the mortgage company, ask for the loss mitigation department, and as long as they got some kind of way to repay, like they got to have a job, they will take. I've seen clients, and it happened during the pandemic. Some of you all might have done it yourself. Like you could have called your mortgage company and be like, "Hey, I'm having a COVID event. I can't pay my mortgage." They'd be like, "Oh, you don't have to pay for a year." People went a year or so without paying. But what they did with those payments is they simply put a lien against the house for, like, you might have went a year without paying, and now you got a $30,000 or $40,000 lien against your house because the mortgage company is going to collect when you sell. So your friend, if they have a way and they're willing to repay, they can work with their lender. The last thing they want to do is to foreclose, because all of they don't want a society full of vacant houses.
That's
right. And so they'll work with them and family too. Even with collections and credit problems, most of us we're not able to work out things with our creditors because we won't answer the phone.
Right.
They're interested in settling with you, right? When that collection company call, answer the phone. Yes, hi, this is John. How may I help you? Right? Like,
yes.
Somebody trying to call the same people that's calling you because they ain't making no money collecting for the collection agency. They got the same problem you got. Right. So work a deal out. Okay, well, look, I can't pay you this, but I can pay you X, and work your way through it. But mainly the reason why people lose their house is because they won't answer the phone. They won't respond to the mortgage servicer. They don't want to foreclose. All he has to do is work a situation out. Take all that money, them 6 months, put a lien against my house, and put me back on track. Give me a lower payment. You have what is called a modification.
Yep.
In a modification, they will structure that loan in a way that he can't afford it. They don't want to take the house. Trust me.
That's right. They don't want the house.
Wow.
This is Sister Tisha's prime area. This is her wheelhouse. I'm so happy for her, and I'm happy for every viewer who's getting a chance to get some answers to the questions that really kept us out of pocket. And so Rockwell Radio Show, glad to know they're on the line with us. We don't get a chance to see them all the time, but that's the great Rockwell Radio Show in Atlanta. Another big one, y'all. These are some big ones tonight. These are whales. These ain't no guppies tonight. These are whales. And what we're hearing will help us. Yeah.
They don't want those houses back. They will restructure and do a loan modification and even wipe off some of the balance or move it to the back or whatever, lower your interest rates. All that, I've seen all that done before. Is that true, Brother John?
Yes, absolutely.
They put it where I know it's true. It happened to me. And I have a 2.5 right now. And they told me it will stay that way the rest of my loan as long as I don't touch it.
No, you don't refinance it.
Refinance
my house. I don't want the but it's true. You have to answer the phone. You have to reach out. They don't want it back. They don't want you to fail, because if you fail, they fail. They lose money. So we can do this. You have to reach out to the mortgage company, reach out to Brother John, reach out to Brother William. They have the knowledge to help us make it through.
Sister Tisha, can we take one more? I like that. Brother David had a great question.
Yeah.
Give me a hard one, man. I
Another
love
hard
it.
Nancy wants to look. These brothers are asking for the smoke. They are asking for the smoke. This is
We want all the smoke.
All
This
of
is
it. Yeah.
Schwarzenegger and
All of it.
Stallone, and they are saying, "I am the law. I am the law." And another brother's telling you, "Get to the chopper. Get to the chopper." So
Somebody
it's
bring the
here.
smoke.
May I tell you all something that I want to say this because this was a few years ago, maybe 2012 or 13, I don't know, but it was a while ago, and I was having a conversation with the minister. And we were sitting in the airport, and I was asking him. I said, how do you satisfy the different desires of the believers? And he said, well, what do you mean by that? I said, well, some brothers want us to focus on VSK. Some want us to focus on survival. Some want us to focus on Dianetics. Some want us to focus on different disciplines. And I said, so how do I settle that? The minister said, that's a good question. He said, brother, first he said, water gives life to everything on this planet, every human being, every plant, every animal. We all come from water. That water is the same as the word. The word will inspire people to do different things. And he said, that's why I created the 9 ministries, so that everybody would have a lane to work within. And so the word has inspired me in the way of helping people become homeowners. That's my ministry. This is my passion, right? And so when you are able to find your passion or others, you don't have to come to where I'm at with it. You have me, and I have you for the things that you're passionate about, but there is a lane for you. The word should inspire us all to do what Allah puts on our heart, right? And so so I just wanted to share that, because it's a lot of work, it's a lot of time. I personally have to ride through a lot of emotions, because I help a number of people who have, like, I'm talking to them about putting $200 or $300 in the bank so we can get their loan closed, or somebody wants to send me a screenshot, and lenders, we can't take screenshots, we need actual pages. Or you want to redact the balance on the account, and I'm like, you can't redact it, right? You know what I mean? Like, I go through, it's a lot, but it is my ministry, right? And so I don't mind talking about it. I don't mind you calling me, or I want to see you have a home, because it means a whole lot when you have something that you can call your own, or something that you can pass away. My neighbor down the street, I think he's 35 years old, and his parents gave them their house. I'm buying the house that's the same size as his house. And Brother Jamil, Sister Tisha, y'all been to my house, so
it ain't small. It ain't small.
Yeah, but this man is living in a house that he doesn't have a mortgage on, that's worth $650,000. What he's now a business owner, because I'm sure he's using that equity to fund his business. He doesn't work a job. So but you can't do real estate is the one area that a rate of return that's going to give you the biggest benefit. Any financial Brother William will tell you, your house is the basis of a financial foundation.
Absolutely. 100%.
Okay. Wow, guys.
Now I want to let that settle. Let that settle. What my brothers have shared with us tonight has been so substantial from the very beginning of this program. And this is one of the reasons why you cannot miss Nothing But the Truth with Brother Jamil and Sister Tisha. You can't really afford to miss this show. Not only for the smiles and for the warm feelings, but also for the cold, clear knowledge that you're getting tonight. Brother David C., who had asked a question earlier about his friend who had fallen behind, he said, it seems like fear and lack of knowledge accounts for so much why we are here where we are. Wow. Fear.
Absolutely.
Well, we're beginning to wrap up. Tisha, what did I forget? Because I know my wife will remind me. What did I forget, hon?
We're good. This show was excellent. I don't know, Brother John, did you get enough of the hard questions? Before we
Oh
wrap
yeah,
up?
yeah.
Yeah, 'cause you did good.
Call me, text me. I don't mind. I
Yeah.
did I did a presentation once at several times at the National Training Seminar, and I
Mhm.
gave out my name and email address.
Mhm.
And one of the sisters who's very close to me and my family,
Mhm.
she was very upset with me. She said, "I can't believe you gave everybody in the seminar your phone number." And I said, "Sis, ain't nobody gonna call me."
Right.
So, and I can guarantee you, I might have got one call. So it's like, what do we want?
Yes.
Do you
Wow.
Right.
I'm here. Like I don't mind talking. I don't mind helping. I don't really care. People
I love it.
sometimes don't want us in their business. We all are the same. Brother William is no better than you, and Brother John
That's
definitely is
right.
not no better than you. You can't bring me a situation that I have not been through in my own personal life and
That's right.
finances.
Absolutely.
I don't
Okay.
care what your
Okay.
situation is. I don't care that you
We
file
understand.
bankruptcy. I don't care that you make 50,000 or 20,000 a year. Like none of that matters. And so
Means
you
nothing.
shouldn't be ashamed to do business and to have conversations with the people who you say that are your brothers and sisters. Like
Right.
that part, I mean it.
We for real, your brother. For
Yeah,
real.
I mean, so I hear it all the time. I people that I'm close to, I hear, oh, they buying a house or they doing that. If they don't do business with me, don't ask. But that's why I have to do it the way that I do it, Brother Jamil, because I'll leave it on at this. I had a bookstore
Mm.
on Brother Jamil on
Mhm.
Halls Ferry and Chambers Road.
Of
I was
course.
a Respect for Life bookstore. At
Mhm.
one point, I was selling 800 bean pies a week.
Mm.
I was rolling, right?
Mhm.
And I had this bookstore. I had the Respect for Life bookstore, and very few believers came through. And Minister Akbar said to me, he said, "Brother, don't depend on the believers to make your living."
Man, you
And
would be
that,
broke.
when he said that, I'm like, what? Like
Mhm.
what?
They
Mhm.
But
told me
I
the same thing,
experienced it.
bro, John.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They told me
And
the same thing, bro, John. Same
Yeah.
thing.
Because
Mhm.
he'd been through it as a person who's in business. But
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
let's change that. We know how it is. Let's change that. I mean, I don't care. I just want to see people become homeowners, but I'll help you. You could do business with whoever you want. It's your choice, but just know that there's no judgment. And there is certainly, I treat things the same way I would treat um, if we were doing auditing, the
Mhm.
auditor's code, as many of
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
we
Yes,
don't
sir.
talk
Yes, sir.
what comes out of a
Oh,
session,
Mhm.
right? So if somebody has a conversation with me, that's where it is. I'm gonna leave it there. It's no
Mhm.
sharing your information with anyone else. So,
right.
um, but
Yeah.
thank you all for having me. It's
Mm.
been two great shows. I appreciate it.
Thank you. We
Well,
appreciate you. Wow.
we are
Thank you.
very, very, very. The coin ain't in the believer's mouth. Okay, but
Wrong
that
with
might
him.
be something. But I want to begin a wrap up period by saying, of course, thank you to each of you on behalf of the world's most beautiful host and myself, because we're rich, brothers, by having the brotherhood and sisterhood that we do. Our friends and our brothers and sisters are a veritable wealth of knowledge. And as you put it so beautifully, Brother John, and maybe it was you, Brother William, I don't know who said it, but it makes sense that everyone has a ministry and a lane and everyone is blessed with
Yeah.
something else. Part of the reason why, Brother John, somebody like me who is not financially, I didn't care about finances. I didn't. But my wife is teaching me and she's helping me to understand, and we're gaining access to knowledge. But I never knew that what I did had value that I could actually build with a brother who's like yourselves. I didn't understand that. So now I come to you, and even as my struggle continues, day by day, it's getting easier. And so I want to thank all three of you who are on this line, and everybody who's producing this broadcast, and everybody who's watching this broadcast. for committing yourselves to building a community of support. And that community of support mostly has less to do with finances. But when it does come down to the finances, isn't it comforting to know that we have a brother John and a brother William in the room with us?
Beautiful.
Isn't it comforting to know that when my wife's questions about finances come up, she can seek them and I can seek them with her, and we can understand better how to move our family closer to the goals we have for our children and grandchildren. This is a wonderful occasion to be here, and I thank you both for taking this time out
Thank
to
you.
do this today.
Oh,
So
thank
much.
you. Thank you so much.
Praise be to
All
Thank
our
you
right,
so
Lord.
much.
guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Once again, I want to thank everyone for coming and sticking around a little longer for another exciting episode of Nothing But the Truth with Brother Jamil and Sister Tisha. We invite you to come back next week, this same time, 8 p.m. Yeah, I'm sleepy. Sorry, 8 p.m. to these same airways. And yeah, just I see you next week, 8 p.m. Huh? Can you take away?
Yeah, oh, she's sleepy. And
I'm
plus,
sleepy.
Pookie and them on they just called. They said they around the corner, so they bringing the big van with 11 of the little cousins too, and some of them are potty trained, so it's gonna be all right. When they all get here later on tonight. When they get here later on tonight. But I do want to say this, brother. If the mystery man could put the numbers up on the screen so that the viewers can get the numbers. I just want to make sure there it is. As Brother John said it. His number is on the screen. Brother Williams' number is going to be on the screen. You can contact these two brothers who are experts in what they do. All right. And each one of them, if you ask one a question, it should go to the other one. They'll give each other the question. That's how they always
Absolutely.
rock. Um, I'm so honored that these are both brothers of the FOI.
Yes.
Very
That's
proud
right.
of you brothers for being FOI, the soldiers. That's the name given the military training of the men who belong to Islam in North America. And these two men have distinguished themselves in the way of service to a very, very grateful nation. And the intellectual prowess that each of you bring is something that is remarkable, and we appreciate a great deal. Last word from Brother William, last word from Brother John, and then Tisha will take us out. Brothers, last thing.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, share, and make a donation so that this program can continue on. That's my final word. Assalamu alaikum.
Islam, Brother John.
Yes. How you do some things is how you do everything.
Yes.
And I would say that, I mentioned it last show. When we grow to the point that we're able to do credit unions and banks and buy in what is called, Brother William, what hedge funds, like these are
Right.
a hedge fund is just a group of people with a whole bunch of money that puts it all together and invest it. We're
That's
not
all it is.
we're not going to get there until we are all in a much better situation, right?
Yeah.
And so let's just do the little things. If you borrow $5 from your brother, pay it back,
That's
right?
right.
If you this is how you do some things, is how you do everything. And I just want to be around people who are like that, who are going to do the right thing, not because it's me. If you pay, and I've seen them, the minister's that way. I've seen him tip people $100 at a dinner table at a restaurant that don't look like you and I. I've seen him do it. Like, it's because that's his heart, that he's going to do everything
Yes.
the same way. Right. And so look, man, that's what I would say. I appreciate you having me on the show. And as I said, if anybody wants to talk, I'm certainly here to do so. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Now, as is our case, to all of our grandchildren, we love you. To our children, you kind of all right too.
Oh.
Well, the grands, they got the love. And I have to say this, a special prayer going up for the family of Sister Mariam Aziz, who has passed away, the the ex-wife of Brother Abdul Akbar Muhammad, the former wife of Minister Akbar, and the mother of their family. Please keep their family in your prayers, as well as the continued prayers for the family of Brother Mustafa Farrakhan, our supreme captain in the loss of his beloved wife, Sister Karen. We're going through a lot, everybody. But if we hold on together and all hold on to the root that is Allah, because we don't do no preaching on nothing but the truth. But I'm asking you to hold on to each other and hold on to God's unchanging hand. We're going to be all right. Next Thursday, 8 o'clock, Allah willing and the creek don't rise. We'll be right back here on YouTube for Nothing But the Truth with
Brother Jamil.
and Sister Tisha. Come on, y'all. May Allah bless you. Have a good one. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Thank you for
Peace.
tuning in.